AMPD is a project building on Cardano aiming to simplify the connection between projects or content creators and their ever-growing community. Now, they're going to be doing that by providing them a suite of custom tools and modules, which include a subscription model as well as a crowdfunding mechanism. Now, that said, as a part of today's video, I'm going to be sitting down with Max, their CEO and founder, in order to find out exactly everything that AMPD is bringing to Cardano. What's up, Ada Nation? Welcome to Dapp Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. As a part of today's video, I'm going to be joined by Max, the co-founder and CEO right now of AMPD, a platform aiming to simplify the development and user experience here on Cardano. Without any further ado, Max, good morning. How are you?
Good evening on my side, but doing very good. Pretty hot in my side of the world, but otherwise I'm doing quite well.
Happy to hear it. It's Monday morning here where I'm at, kicking off the week. This is actually one of the first interviews that I've got lined up, and I'm excited to find out a little bit more about what you're building. So, as we get ready to just dive into what AMPD is, do you mind kind of kicking us off with a little bit of your background and exactly what AMPD is aiming to solve here on Cardano?
Awesome. So very briefly to my background, I've been in, let's say, IT. I started early on in IT programming and kind of found my way through graphic design, illustration, and moved my way up all the way through positions such as creative director and marketing director at various Swiss companies. Obviously, some are related in the fashion industry to small leather goods and accessories. Been in crypto, I'd say, since as early as my math teacher in 2012 or 11, talking about Bitcoin to us, and then kind of like following what's the waves of Bitcoin, and then really getting immersed in 2016. I think like a lot of people joined that kind of like era of crypto, and then from there found a very interesting blockchain called Cardano, and since then I've been really following the kind of the growth, and I really enjoyed the philosophy behind Cardano, catalysts, and all of those beautiful ideas around it. And since day one, I kind of been following it. And on mainnet launch, I really wanted to find an excuse to do something on it because I've been very passionate about Cardano. And we launched an NFT project called Universe 25 with one of my co-founders at the time, also working in the same department and me at the same company. And he was just a talented illustrator. And we then kind of launched Universe 25, and AMPD kind of is a birth kind of out of necessity to a certain extent. It's really what we felt after being 2 years immersed in the space, what we believe could be a sustainable revenue stream for a lot of creators. And this goes from anybody. It can be, a very, let's say, even somebody like you, right, that is on streaming and like being the voice of Cardano and kind of like interviewing and like a quote unquote influencer. That could be an interesting alley for on AMPD to allow a core demographic to kind of join in on a more personal and private community, which would be AMPD, right? It's like that perfect little catalyst that allows you to create a subgroup of your existing community that really wants to support you and allow you to do what you do best. So that's kind of like how AMPD was born, really out of necessity for us also as an NFT project to figure out how can we be sustainable more. How can we have a better revenue stream going down forward and not relying on hype, mints, and all of that beautiful stuff. So we then kind of decided to say, let's do it, let's get it done. And now we're kind of this in era after 1 year of really laying down the framework and the foundation of opening a company, talking to lawyers. We're opening a company in Sweden and in Switzerland. We have enough. The bank cleared us, so we're good to go. So that took a lot of time and effort. So we were really like laying the foundation so that we can properly scale. And this is now the time where we feel like as a company we're there and we're able to scale at a rapid, pace, allowing us to really build what we believe in. So that's the TLDR. I hope that answers some questions.
That does, but that also sparks some additional questions. So I want to just maybe ask, with something like AMPD, you mentioned this being a way to create a community within a community. Can you maybe explain platforms that you've worked with and exactly how they've actually utilized a platform like AMPD to help out, with respect to their own projects?
Yeah. Well, we really are a starting point. Like we are at a pre-alpha, I'd say. Even we have been talking to a lot of like projects and founders and devs and creators about the potential of such a platform like AMPD that would allow them to kind of monetize their content, if you want to put it that way, or monetize their communities in a way that is a healthy growth, right? We want to be able to say that I want to be able to follow a creator because I want to support him. I want to allow him to keep doing what they do. And I'm willing to contribute a monthly contribution to be a part of that community, right? So it's very like in marketing terms, you have your like your top level community, then you break it down further and further into like your that kind of marketing funnel. And like at the very end of that funnel, we would kind of call them like the hardcore community members that are really here, diehard fans and wanting to support you and your vision. And that's where we want to aim at and kind of place ourselves within that niche as AMPD. And we're not acting as if we're reinventing the wheel to a certain extent. There are existing, quote unquote, Web2 models that are existing. So it is a proven business model. And to us, it was like bringing this concept that is proven in Web2, but then kind of bring it into Web3 with the Web3 advantages that we have and that we use, and it also allows you to contribute with your crypto to different communities and visions.
Thank you for that. I've got a follow-up question. So again, it looks
Mhm,
like AMP might be focused more or less towards content creators. Would that be
mhm.
right to assume on my end? Because again, I can definitely see myself utilizing something like this for my community, right? Which is kind of dispersed throughout Discord, Twitter, etc. Could I bring everybody in under AMPed? And then from a creator standpoint, I see here easy subscription. So it looks like people be able to subscribe to join my particular AMP group. Do you mind maybe kind of highlighting additional features that would be there for the creators to connect with their community within the actual AMP platform?
Yeah, so in first installment, obviously, we have the very obvious of creating a somewhat closed membership communication, which can be anything from you providing additional, let's say, snippets from what you've created. For example, this interview, you have, let's say, a first hour of the interview is for free, but the next 30 minutes of the interview is usually a more private, in-depth interview that is dedicated to people that subscribe to your platform. And there you have a page that is like this content is behind a somewhat subscription wall or paywall. So that's, for example, a very typical podcast type scenario that a lot of people in the podcast industry kind of tend to do, is providing a certain amount of their content for free, but then the rest is really behind a certain paywall. And this really allows to kind of create a monthly revenue stream for you as an influencer in a certain expense, or as a content creator. And to us, that was really important. And that's kind of also the beauty of AMP. It's very wide in terms of demographic that we could be talking to. Like we can really look at even space host. For me, one of the most prominent one being, let's say, Cardano over coffee, which I think are doing an amazing work in that kind of like Twitter space genre for Cardano as an ecosystem. These are people that I think would benefit largely from having a platform like AMPed to allow them to keep doing what they do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. And feature sets that are going to come, obviously, in the initial, as I mentioned, it will be kind of more gradually, but we'll be implementing Discord bots to allow people to easily, assign roles based on your tiers. So if you're a golden tier member, for example, you can get a nice little Discord role. We are talking to various providers to help us create closed mints. So, for example, if you're an artist and you want to provide a special monthly NFT or art piece to specific art collectors in your community, they can then mint, and only these people that are qualifying for this, let's say, tier level, are able to mint that specifically very close and personal NFT that you can only really get from that side of the of his community. So there's various feature we are brainstorming and looking into, but obviously we're going to slowly, gradually, and then really learn from the creators, and kind of that with that feedback, understand which feature set do we need to create, where do we need to improve, and ensure that we provide enough really features to really make you able to monetize your content in a better way. So yeah, that's kind of our aim.
I can definitely get behind that. As a creator, I find that the needs of my community with respect to content is always changing. And if there would be some platform that could accommodate to those needs over time, I think that would be really, really great. Now, my channel focuses specifically on Cardano, right? And a lot of the projects building here on Cardano. So my next question to you is going to be surrounding why Cardano. I do see a mention here on the official website surrounding multi-chain, right? But why have you guys chosen to build or maybe just incorporate the Cardano community? I'm not sure if the actual platform will be built on top of Cardano tech, but it looks like it'll be aimed towards the community. So why the focus on Cardano?
Well, I think the first one will be basically also as a team member, sorry, our entire team base basically are really hardcore Cardano fans in the sense that we really believe in not only the tech, but also the ethos behind it and really how the community really functions. And we really come to fall in love with people in the community and really enjoy this ecosystem that we've kind of all collectively built, with the goods and the bads. And so that, besides the emotional attachment to Cardano, there's also very much a technical aspect behind it that we believe that in terms of security and decentralization, we do believe that Cardano is, at the forefront in the L1s. So it's definitely from that. And our goal is to, if we do cross-chain at the one point, it would be bridging everything. So the tech would always live on Cardano, but ideally we would bridge everything over and look at ways to leverage the security layer that Cardano provides. So it's definitely an emotional attachment, but also a technologic belief in Cardano. So it really goes hand in hand. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Just a quick follow up. For anybody who's interested in getting their hands on the AMP platform, when can we potentially see, the first launch of a public MVP, a testnet, or a beta, something of that sort?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, in 2023, our goal was really laying the foundations. So, from a company building aspect, so from all the administration stuff like lawyers and banks and fun stuff. We also have been from a development perspective, also focusing on building what we call modules, which is we want to tailor make each module, which will come together. Like if we imagine it as a puzzle piece, comes together to create the platform. So the first one will be our login system, which we call AMPD. We already have an MVP out there, which can be tested on id.amp.co. And that will allow people to very simply log into our system, change their PFP and everything. And besides that, we also are going to provide this as a technology for other people to utilize to have a very simple sign-in with your wallet to your website with, let's say, very minimal code knowledge, because all the headache happens on our back end. You just need to slap that on your front end with a couple lines of code, and then you should be good to go with, being able to sign in using your wallet. So AMPed ID is definitely one of the first components we've built. And besides that, we've been doing a lot of proof of concept work related to the subscription model, which we call the smart escrow wallet. The best way of describing it is, let's say, a prepaid credit card, which is a simple way for you to kind of analyze it and understand that it's just a escrow wallet that allows that you have to top up, and that is the smart contract that we allow to interact with to withdraw the monthly subscription. Obviously, there's a lot more technicality to it that our CTO would be better qualified to describe it than me, but in a very simplified way, it would be kind of like a prepaid credit card component. And this, I'd say, we're in a very early pre-alpha. We're testing on testnet at this point in time, and hopefully we'll be able to kind of launch it to the public with a demo site so people can kind of see how the smart contract, so the smart escrow wallet would function. So we're looking at that perspective in the next couple months, hopefully by end of Q1. And if we get a successful Fund 11, which would help us ramp up development pretty drastically, we would be able, hopefully, to deliver a pre-alpha amped experience or alpha experience to hopefully by end of Q2, which would be kind of the summer times. And our goal is to create a little bit more of a closed environment where we have a little bit more of control on the creators joining the platform. So we would be partnering with a couple projects that are already quite interested in joining. And this would be to help us showcase, but not only showcase the tech, but also understand at a very early stage what we need to improve, right? Which UX experience do we have to improve? Which UI experience do we have to improve? And from a creative perspective, what feature sets are most important to work on and allocate our time, budget, and efforts. So hopefully Q1 is our modules are finished, and Q2 hopefully we have a pre-alpha launch for public.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll go ahead and leave the link to the AMPD platform down below for anybody who wants to jump on there and check that out. I actually just jumped on there and was able to quickly connect my Nami wallet to the platform. Now, one thing that you mentioned was Project Catalyst. Let's jump into that a little bit. As it stands right now, voting is actually just kicked off. I see that there's an amped proposal, right, which is for, again, your smart subscription platform. Do you mind touching on, what is included in the actual proposal and what that's aiming to solve?
So this round we have submitted 3 proposals. So we've been part of Fund X, so Fund 10 last round. This was us exploring the Catalyst realm. It's a very it's its own little universe. So we wanted to kind of learn the ins and outs and how it functions. And so we didn't go in with the anticipation of being funded. However, this round we felt splitting up the proposals in 3 building blocks, which would be AMP Sub, which you're viewing right now, AMP ID, which is the login system and interface, and then the AMP platform. So the AMP Sub is basically allowing us to develop the smart contract. So obviously we are developing it on a proof of concept basis, but given the nature of the fund management, we do interact with ADA, which means we do want to make sure that we are 100% bulletproof on the smart contract level from a security perspective, so that we don't have any access or any potential flaws or security holes that would allow people to drain wallets. So we are taking security on that level very seriously, and therefore the Catalyst proposal will allow us to kind of step up our game when it comes to employing more devs with more expertise in smart contract development. So that is specifically on that proposal. In that proposal, we also have an audit. So obviously we are talking to entities like TX Pipe Shop to support us with audits and also the ICANN development of the smart contract. We are talking to other companies like Gimbal Labs, Blink Labs to support us with consulting and hopefully help us understand the nature of how everything works and how everything is well secured. Because these people, I've been sitting in meetings with them, and the knowledge that they have is insane to me. So it's always very inspiring, and it instills confidence that we have the right partners aligned to help us make sure that AMP Sub is well done. And the last one would be AMPed, which is the AMPed platform. So this budget requirement that we have is to build the proof of concept front end, which will allow us to really showcase AMPed on a more user base, how it actually is going to function. So it's integrating the smart contract, integrating AMPed ID, building the UI, building the UX, and also certain aspect of the marketing budget, because we are very well aware that we have a very strong product, but without marketing, we need to ensure that we get out there and people are aware of what's going on. We did unfortunately, I can't disclose more information, but we did just sign on a CMO position at our company. We are in this getting to know each other phase, so obviously under NDA, but it really kind of is our way of showing that we're really taking this marketing aspect of the project very seriously, and want to make sure that we nail our communication also further down the road. So that's the 3 proposals in quick.
No, I appreciate that. I'll go ahead and leave the links to those down below for the community who's interested in finding out more about that. I think the very last point that you mentioned there with marketing is huge. There's so many projects here in Cardano that have done the work, but that just don't have the voice to get it out there or the proper strategy to get it out there. So I definitely think it's something that needs to be focused on. And it looks like you guys are taking, strides to make that happen. As we just kind of get ready to kind of land the plane here, Max, what would is there anything that we have maybe touched on that you think would be of benefit to the community surrounding AMP ID, AMP Sub, or just the entire overall AMP ecosystem as it's getting ready to come out?
I think an interesting aspect of our product, which I think is very interesting, if we can kind of briefly stay on the marketing aspect, and this is really us understanding how we can kind of create a go-to-market strategy as a company and as a product, is that the beauty of this concept is that and this is no pun intended, but our marketing efforts is really going to be the amplification that happens through each creator joining the platform. Right, so so the voice towards the B2C customer, if you want to put it this way, is really going to be coming from the creators. So the quicker we are able to grow our creator platform, the quicker we'll be able to kind of really branch out in a lot of different audience groups. So our marketing efforts is really going to be nailing down the platform, the feature sets, and the security. And that's where really our strong performance is, but also in the marketing perspective, really keeping the community up to date with what's going on with the platform. Where are we at with development? So being as transparent as possible, but also networking with a lot of individuals and creators that might be interested to join the platform. In terms of our goal as a company and as a project, it's really going to be focused on phase one is really like, let's leverage and understand the existing ecosystem and existing customer base that we have here on Cardano. Phase two is going to slowly start branching out outside of our, let's say, Web3 bubble and seeing how can we onboard people that haven't been really haven't really had a touching point with crypto as a whole, but have a very interesting background that they could bring to crypto or and utilize the tech that we provide with AMPD or that crypto as a whole provides. And that is going to be a very interesting key point, because at that point is also where we will understand how can we improve the user experience from a non-crypto customer base. So this is like our quote unquote very cliche thing that I think everybody mentions nowadays, like our ways of onboarding. Even though I'm very critique of using that word, like I'm very careful. But it's our way of understanding how can AMP really leverage our tech and our position to onboard people that are outside of the current Web3 bubble that we are in, and making sure that this is where we can really ace it and simplify the onboarding, which is a very difficult thing to do in of itself. Like the wallet creation is already one big wall to, like, one big barrier of entry. And so there's a lot of interesting point, but we can only really know through creators and people that are outside of the ecosystem as of now. So this is kind of like our phase one, phase two with AMP in terms of marketing. And the last thing that I want to mention and that we didn't really touch on is our commitment or to provide the modules that I talked about, so AMP ID, AMP Sub, and future also the AMP crowdfunding smart contract as a white label tech. So enabling everybody, even just with AMP ID, we are onboarding a lot of projects that are interesting to use our login system. It's also building tech that we can then just kind of use as a building block and provide it to other people in the space that can utilize such tech. And that goes with the smart contract and with the future modules that we build.
Thank you, Max. I appreciate that. I will definitely say I'd be more than happy to give your platform a try once it's available. So definitely make sure to stay in touch with me here. I'd love to also provide my community with updates as AMP rolls out, regardless of course, what happens with Project Catalyst. I think that you guys will be able to build and deliver. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got Max here joining me, official co-founder and CEO of AMP, empowering creators not only with their crowdfunding application, but also with their subscription model for content creators as well. So I do look forward to having you back on the channel in the future, Max, especially as different portions of the AMP protocol, of the AMP ecosystem begin to roll out. That said, I do appreciate your time here. Again, for the ladies and gentlemen watching today's video, if you guys want to find out more about AMP, make sure to go ahead and check out the description down below, and make sure to go ahead and check out their funding round number 11 proposals, which also be linked down there as well. As always, if you guys did enjoy today's video, I would appreciate you guys if you guys could smash that like button. If it's your first time stopping by Dapp Central and you want more content like this, covering all the builders here on Cardano, consider subscribing. And last but not least, if you have any questions for myself or Max surrounding AMP, then please make sure to go ahead and leave those down below as a part of today's comments. That's it, and as always, we'll catch you guys in the next video.